In our series called the Top 10, very simple idea. We talk to somebody that we've been waiting to hear from for quite a while, find out their 5 lessons from life and their journey, and even more importantly, their 5 prescriptions for the ideal Ghana they want to live in. My guest for today is very well suited to talk about this because she's always giving news and telling us what is happening that should not be happening, or what is news program.
Araba Kooomson. Without us, I mean, what would you do?
Araba Kooomson, editor at JoyNews. After 10 years, finally we get to do this. Araba, welcome to Springboard.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Finally.
Is it fair to say this has been 10 years coming?
No, it's not true.
No, it is. I'll calculate back.
In my line of work, accuracy is always key. And I don't think it's been 10 years.
There you go again. No. But I can tell you that I've been looking forward to this for quite a while.
Same here. I mean,
how difficult is it to be a news editor or a broadcast journalist, or to deal with news? How difficult is it?
For someone who's been in this business for almost 20 years, I would say it's a challenge. I would not describe it as difficult because it's something that I have a passion for. I am very curious to know about what is happening all the time. And so for me, it's something that I look forward to. What's happening today? What are we doing today? What new information are we getting today? What corruption are we unearthing today? You know, because at the end of the day, your job is to hold the, people in government or people in positions of power to account, hold their feet to the fire. So yeah, I mean, it's something I look forward to every day. Of course, there are difficult days sometimes when you have to work throughout, the day during election periods. That's one of the times. But, it's the hazards of the job. And if you truly have a passion for the job, you wouldn't see it as a difficulty. You see it as a challenge. It's one of those things, the hazard of the job. So it doesn't happen every day. And I guess I'm talking like I love the job. I love it. So I guess that's
I was going to come to that. But before that, so would you? So I summarize passion, and then you talk about curiosity. What's new? What's happening? What's fresh? What must you uncover? Then you talk about currency. It can't be old stuff. It must be fresh stuff. Mm-hmm. Will these 3 be the words you would pass on to somebody now starting the journey that you've been on for 20 years?
Oh, certainly. I mean, passion is very important because I know people who have come into the profession and have not lasted because they didn't have the passion for it. I'm sure you must have heard that journalism doesn't pay that much compared to other professions. But, people do it and still thrive. And you'd ask yourself, why do they do it? It's because they have the passion for it. There's this innate interest that, brings out the best in those who do it. So if you have a passion for it, you won't be bored. You wake up each day looking forward to, doing the work or the mandate that's been set before you. So it's passion, yes. Obviously,
let's talk about the risks. Is it? Are there days you sit down and say, why am I going through all this?
I mean, yes, of course. And I'm sure all other professions do. I mean, there are people who say that. But yeah, of course. I mean, there are days. There have been instances where, you come under heavy fire from politicians for just merely doing your work,
Why?
And criticism for criticizing them or exposing them, for things that they ought to be doing and are not doing, or things that they have not done and said they have done, And so for shining a light on that, you become a target. And, I'm fairly criticized by a section of the public who don't know better. And so, yeah, those are some of the difficulties I would say. But I mean, we're not deterred by that.
Is it ever fun to do what you do? I'm asking because, you know, when you see you're interviewing Araba Koomson, I just can imagine a number of people who are interested in the profession saying, let me listen. This journalism cry isn't nice. I mean, I feel we owe it to those who are listening, who are interested in the profession or are starting out on the journey to find out, okay, what is in the soup? Yeah, it's tough. It doesn't pay. If you don't have passion, currency, and curiosity, you can't do it. But is it ever fun? Do you sometimes look at me and like, yeah, this is the life?
It is. If for nothing at all, you get to meet newsmakers and, you know, celebrities firsthand. I mean, I've met musicians and I've met, you know, top politicians, Tony Blair, you know, because of the work I do. I've had access to such people, you know, and so that's one of the perks of the job. So if for nothing at all, it brings you a step closer to people who others see only on television or can only dream of seeing.
Did you always want to do this? I mean, you and I have antecedents. We went to the same primary school.
Chapel Hill.
When you were in Chapel Hill, when you were growing up, did you think you would become a journalist?
No, not at all.
How did you find yourself?
Well, I mean, when I was growing up, I thought I'd be an architect.
All right.
Yes. I was so invested in drawing. I loved art, and you know, even my art teacher can tell you that. Yeah, I did quite well in art, you know. But I realized along the line, someone told me that you need to do maths up to the sixth form level, and before you get to do architecture.
The devil is a liar.
And that put me off totally.
Why you don't like maths?
Yes. And coincidentally, around that time, you know, I was watching a lot of GTV and Beatrice Edu. And I loved the way she presented the news. My father tells me that, you know, sometimes I'll stand in front of the mirror just imitating what she used to do. And so I suppose it was in the works. But, you know, I mean, so along the line, I used to write for my school newsletter in JIS. And then, you know, when we were on holidays, I made the bold move to walk to the Daily Dispatch, which is a media house just around where my school was. And I went to Uncle Ben. I said, I think I like writing, and I think I can write for your paper. You don't need to pay me anything, not even transport fare. I'll just write for you.
Wow.
And then, you know, just to gain that experience. And that's what I did. And I cut my teeth in journalism from there, from the Daily Dispatch newspaper.
Two things strike me right up front. And I like to listen and learn from people in the same industry or the same bracket and see what is a common thread. And I'm telling you that I can give you 5 notable names, female, I won't even add the males, females in the media who tell me the same thing about their journey. And so let me just pick randomly. Anita Eskin said the same thing. Portia Gabo said the same thing. Gifty Auntie said the same thing. And it runs through. Who else? Belamundi said the same thing. Of course, I was going to add one more, but I realized she's not. Adina Thembi, the musician, said the same thing. And it's all about being young and then trying to mimic what the professionals in the field that you were drifting into were doing. And doing it almost for fun, but doing it all the same. And then that becoming the key.
Sorry, I think my phone, even though it's on vibrations, I think it's making noise. It's on silent though. Okay, shall we? Sorry about that. Okay, sorry.
That's good. So here I am saying maybe anyone who wants to do well in a field should learn from this. And then just watch those who are doing. You are saying you watch Beatrice Edu and then you were imitating it.
Exactly.
I'm sure at that time you didn't take it seriously.
Not at all.
And that strikes me. Then I think also about the second point about you walking to Ben Epson at Dispatch and saying, listen, can I do this for you for free? I mean, in my life, I can relate to that as the opener of the doors several times. But this one about me, again, I've interviewed people who say that was what gave me access offering to do things for free. Would you, as somebody that many young aspiring journalists and then even young professionals look up to, see that these two could be literally the game changers for young people who are unemployed looking for opportunity?
Most definitely. I mean, and I'm not seeing a lot these days.
Why?
You know, that voluntary spirit, that taking that initiative. I can't quite, point to what the reason is, but I believe, and it cuts across. I mean, the generation we have now, of course, there are lots of bright young minds out there, hardworking young people, but, a lot more people who are also waiting to be fed rather than taking the spoon to feed themselves, as it were. So it's a bit tough. I don't know whether it's because, this generation, people prefer the soft life, what has come to be known as the soft life. So they expect things to be done for them rather than taking the initiative. But yeah, that is what it is. I mean, I knew what I wanted, and I thought to myself, go out there and go and get it, no matter what it takes. All you need to do is put in the effort. And I'm not seeing a lot of that of young people these days.
Interesting. Let's delve into, now you find yourself, you cut your teeth at Daily Dispatch, find yourself in the industry. Over the 20-year period, share with me a couple of the critical lessons you've learned for the benefit of somebody who wants to hear and learn from you.
Okay.
What are some of the big lessons that you've learned? A couple of them.
Of course. I mean, first, and I always tell young people this, take initiative. I mean, when you are in an environment, don't wait until you're told what to do. I mean, watch, observe, and then take initiative, because that is what will make people rely on you. That is what will make, your leaders or your managers have faith in you, that if left without supervision, you can do the job. And so it's important to take initiative, ask, what can I do? How can I do this? Can I do this better? These are all questions young people ought to be asking. And I'm not seeing a lot of that. I'm hoping that more people would be asking questions, be curious enough to want to know how to do things so that they can do it perfectly. And, just generally become what they envision, right? Secondly, I would say that put in the effort. It's important to put in the effort. I mean, these days, people just want, fast food results, like very, very, very fast results. So it's like they do something and they expect, immediate results. And results don't always come immediately, It's through putting in the effort and the time, that is what molds you eventually to become, as good as the people that you see, who you consider your mentors, are. So it's important to put in the time and the effort, and it's important to take initiative.
Do you think that sometimes people look at the end product and they want to become the Araba Koomson that they see overnight?
Yeah, people don't want to go through that long haul of, okay, she did this, she did that, and she did that before she's now what she is. Why do I have to go through the whole thing? If it's like, for them, it's like reinventing the wheel. I can get there faster without necessarily putting in all that. No, the effort and the time you put in actually molds you to become what you're seeing your so-called mentor to be.
So then what's the use of having a mentor if you have to go through the same grind and the same length of time?
How did a mentor get to that point?
But if they are naturally or natural skills, now you will shorten the journey.
Natural skills, no. But you see, it works differently for people. The mentor put in the effort. They put in the time. And that is what got them there. And that's what a lot of people don't want to listen to. It's like, okay, I want to get there, but how can I get there? By cutting corners. You can't cut corners. Like Manifest said, there's no shortcut to, is it fame that he said? But basically, there's no shortcut to whichever destination you're going to.
Give me the long cut, my own words. Give me the long cut. Give me a picture of the grind. Somebody said, let me accuse you people. You tell us the story and we like what we see and we want it now. But you don't tell us the tears. You don't tell us the pain. So give me the grind for somebody who says, so what is the backstory of the pain, the tears, the frustration? Give us an idea about some of the tough back office things that go into what you do.
There's a lot of frustration sometimes. It's not as beautiful as you'd see it presented on screen all the time. A lot of work goes into it. A lot of young people see, newscasters reading the news and think that's what it is. I want to be that, without knowing that there is a lot of work going on behind the scenes. So it's not just about coming to sit there looking pretty and presenting the news and that's it.
What's the hard work? What goes into it?
Well, you need to put in the hard work, and that involves helping to write the story, first of all, helping to cut videos and sounds, going on the ground, calling people who would be an addendum to the story. For example, stakeholders, social commentators who might add to the story, all of that. Sometimes in your bid to get the story on the field, your car can break down. Sometimes you run out of credit to call the office for information that would help in facilitating your work. All of those are, some of the challenges you go through. But at the end of the day, you are looking at the end product. So you're not deterred by what's happening right now. In your mind, or in the minds of the people I work with and myself, let's get the product out there first, and then we'll deal with the challenges that we were confronted with in the process of, putting out the product.
Let me ask you, do you sometimes feel misunderstood?
As
a journalist, you put a story out there. Do you sometimes find arrows flying left, right, center, and say, hold on, I thought this is supposed to be for your good?
Yes.
Do you feel
There's been
misunderstood?
several instances where people misunderstand us. I mean, a clear case was when a former vice president died. He was a Muslim. Okay, I suppose I've given it away, so I might as well say it's former Vice President Aliu. He died, and we had credible information that he had passed. But I think that some of the people around him didn't want that information out yet, for whatever reason. And when we put out the information, they came at us, they tried to destroy our credibility by saying that what we're saying is not true. And, they actually succeeded in getting the public, to get angry at us. There's a lot of vitriol against us. And it was very disheartening because we knew the information we had was accurate because it came directly from a medical source at the hospital. And apparently it turned out that, he actually was dead, but they wanted to find ways of managing the information before it came out.
Is that not fair? Where do you draw the line? And educate us on this, because there are times when everybody knows, but nobody is saying it because maybe they want to inform their family first, because the power of the media is such that within seconds of you announcing it, the whole world will hear. So how do you balance, Araba Koomson? How do you balance the fact that you want to be the first in breaking the news, or you want to be the first to bring credible, let me use the word again, currency, passion, curiosity, currency. So you want to bring current news to your publics, but at the same time, people are also trying to balance, make sure security considerations, family considerations, and so on. How do you find the balance?
To be honest, over time, society evolves. Over time, we have realized the need to not just break news fast, but break it accurately and, appropriately. So, whereas in the past, we'll just be, in a rush to just break the news, be the first to break the news. Now, we are considerate of other factors. Has the family been informed? So it's there's been a change. There's been a change in the way we break news now, and you wouldn't see us doing it the way we used to do it, in a rush to break, especially news to do with death. In our case, one of our core values is accuracy. In everything we do, we need to be accurate. And so if you rush to put out information, that may turn out to be inaccurate just because you want to be the first. I mean, you end up with, mess on your face. And so for now, I think that the strategy moving forward is to break the news, but ensure that, you have all bases covered, as in, if it's a death, family is aware first and comfortable about you putting out the information first. So I think that we are improving. Over time, we are improving. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's about accuracy. We're doing our job. People are also curious to know. So it's a tough balance, but we find the balance.
When it comes to you as a manager and the key lessons that you've learned, but let me push on one more thing about the news industry as a whole. So as you try to describe the appropriateness, the responsibility part of it, we can't deny that it's a very competitive terrain, and that's what it's all about. How do you manage competition and responsibility, the dance between competition and responsibility?
Well, as I indicated, I mean, you have to be responsible in the way you go about all of these things. But obviously, we are very much aware that competition is at hand, is on our heels. And sometimes, in the case of breaking news, the competition goes ahead of us. Sometimes they are right, sometimes they are wrong. What we've learned over time is that if we put out the information and we add value to it, people will stay with us. So our competitors rush to put out the information. But when we do put out the information, we add value to it by, giving additional information, which is helpful to the public. And that puts us ahead of the competition, even though we were not the first to break it.
Okay, so you're saying that sometimes by choice, you will not break it first because you want to be more responsible.
Exactly.
And if you feel that as a result, others have gone ahead to break and they're ahead of you, you choose to add value.
Exactly.
Was Ocran and Namkan just to make it more beautiful.
Exactly.
This is Springboard Virtual University. My guest, Araba Kooomson. And Araba and I have been holding this conversation virtually for a long time. So today we get to do it in person for the benefit of our listeners and viewers. And so far, Araba has been talking about what it takes to succeed in news. He says 3 things: passion, curiosity, and currency. Those are the 3 things if you want to become a journalist. And then the second thing is about how she got into news. She says she grew up wanting to become an architect and pursuing it until math appeared. Was it A-level math?
A-level math.
Charlie, they say you have to do A-level math, and that was enough deterrent. And so that's how it didn't happen. But she mentions 2 things that I found very interesting. First is about imitating Beatrice Edu of GTV, and then the second thing is about walking up to Benevison at the Dispatch to volunteer to write for free, and that becoming the opener of the door. The third is about taking initiative. She says, don't wait until you are told what to do. Step out and try your hands at something, and then keep asking questions and ask and put in the result, the effort to get the results. Don't assume that because you have a mentor, you can suddenly, by the waving of your hand, get to where the mentor is overnight without the grind. But let me pull out a couple more lessons on the management side of things that, as a professional, going on. What are the key leadership lessons that you've picked up on the journey that you'd like us to?
The one that comes immediately to mind is people are more important than things or, the work. Let's just put it that way. People are very important. So early on in my career, I was all about the results. I was results oriented, and there's nothing wrong with being results oriented. I was more about, okay, let's get the work done. I don't care who does it. I don't care how it's done. Let's just get the work done and get the results so that, we maintain our lead in the field. But over time, I realized that you can't just be barking orders at people and expect them to work with passion. You have to be compassionate. And I had to learn empathy. If you ask my colleagues, they'll tell you I have changed over time because I never used to be very compassionate. It's not that I was hard-hearted. It's just that I was just more focused on the work, not about anything else or anybody else. In my mind, I'm coming to, work. I'm in a competitive environment, and we need to make sure that we're in the lead, we're first. And so that was it. I didn't really care about my colleagues and how they felt in situations. I never asked them, oh, how are you doing? I never bothered to find out what they're doing beyond the office. And, you know, over time, this affected the work, because obviously if somebody is not happy and you don't know about it, it affects productivity, right? So I had to learn to be empathetic, you know, and I'm glad I did.
Was it occasioned by a personal, I mean, thinking back at it, was this occasioned by a personal experience of yours?
I would not a personal experience per se, but there was a lady in the newsroom who was going through a lot of stuff I didn't know, and I was pushing her to deliver, you know, and she was a very, you know, laid back person, not too aggressive, and that day she just flipped and she walked out of the newsroom, and I was like, what is all of this? And my boss at the time, you know, called me into his office and said, you know, you need to be more empathetic and get to know what people are going through, because there may be something she's going through which has made her act the way she did, which made her flip out the way she did. And that is affecting her productivity. And so having borne that in mind, I decided, you know what, I need to be more interested in the lives of people, especially the people I work with. I mean, I go to work in the morning and leave in the evening, so I'm there virtually the whole day with them. So I might as well get to know them beyond the office. And so that helped. It was that talk with my boss who said, you need to actually take a step back and then look at people not just from the outside, but go within and find out.
Without giving me the details, did you get to have that conversation with that lady?
I did, and she. You know what? It was a good thing, because she actually appreciated me for that. Sometimes people are just looking for people to, you know, open up to and speak to, and I didn't know this, and I was just, you know, bearing down on hard on her, just expecting results, not knowing what she was going through. So having had that talk with her, she opened up to me, she warmed up, and you know, I didn't put as much pressure on her. And over time, you know, she started becoming more productive.
Beautiful. Let me get a bit more personal while I stay with this story. I love the story. I'm enjoying it. Which of your bosses had that conversation with you?
Oh, that would be Elvis Kwashi, our
I
late
just
boss.
knew it.
Yes.
I just knew it. I mean,
Elvis is somebody who exudes empathy. I mean, it's him. It's innate in him. I mean, that's how he was, and I always say that will be one of his legacies, because he was not just a boss, he was a brother, he was like a father, you know, and it's difficult to mix all of those things in one, you know, for this tough environment, you know, and because we have a lot of, you know, this industry, there are lots of egos, you know, people think, oh, I've reached here, I'm very important and all the rest. But it takes someone who can be humble enough to, you know, even though they're in a higher position, be humble enough to tell you that, listen, you're good, but others can be better than you, and you need to humble yourself.
I tell you what, I'm glad I asked you that question, because I have some very wonderful, wonderful memories of experiences with Elvis. And I think it's not out of place to use a forum or a platform like this to celebrate a human being. I mean, we all went through the loss of somebody like that. But you know, when people pass, people say nice things. But I can tell you this, that what you describe is exactly Elvis as I knew him. And I have had very wonderful experiences.
And I'm glad that is his legacy, and not, you know, material things or other things, but his legacy. When the first thing you ask people about, if about what they remember of Elvis, is that he was a kind person, he was humane, you know, and empathetic, and those are things you can't buy with money.
Things you can't buy with money. If you want a headline to this last part of this conversation, since I'm dealing with the news editor, the headline: things that money can't buy. So this is the things that money can't buy edition of Springboard, your virtual university, with my friend Araba Kooomson of the Multimedia Group.